Hello there, I'm Torvald of Torvald's Leatherworks, and this video is going to be talking about my hardened leather shovel greaves. Now, to start with, we're going to talk just a little bit about my hardening method. Regardless of what you might think from looking at it, my hardened leather is not specifically wax hardened. I actually use hot water to mold, shape, and dish it, and then it gets baked in an oven. Then it gets a full immersion wax bath, and then finally it gets another oven bake. So I'm doing a little bit of every one of the type of hardening methods to be able to get the results that I do. Also, the wax bath that I use has a melting point of 180 degrees, so these are not going to get soft just because of exposure to sunlight. In fact, if it gets hot enough that my armor gets soft in any way, the last thing you're worried about is your armor. So what exactly is a shovel greave? Well, that's actually a modern term that's used to describe a modified Greco-Roman style greave that covers essentially from the ankle to up over the knee. Now, the classical design only covered the front of the knee, but to be able to meet SCA combat safety regulations, we had to extend that around to cover the side points of the joint as well as the front of the joint. And also, when you bend your leg, the top of your knee has to stay covered. And so we had to modify it also to be able to meet that standard. So this is what my hardened leather shovel greave looks like. This is my personal set that has the tooling on it. Tooling is no longer an option for any of my leather goods. So at any rate, you can see here that it dishes to cup around the ankles a bit, it cups around the calf a bit, and then it goes all the way around the knee. Covers both the front point, the two side bony points. Now, I know that in some kingdoms, they also require that the sides of the knee are covered to the extent that a wrap shot, that is a blow where the weapon will curve around behind the leg, cannot get to the tendons behind the knee. And you'll see here in just a moment when I put this on that mine extend far enough back to cover that. So, as far as I know, not only does my shovel greave meet SCA minimums, it also meets or exceeds every kingdom standards that at least I'm aware of. But check with your local marshal just to be sure. Okay? Sorry, I can't keep up with all of the kingdom's combat standards, although I do my best. If there's any question at all, check with your local marshal. Okay. So there's not a lot to talk about in terms of the protection value here. As you can see, it covers everything it has to and a whole lot more. SCA combat standards don't require that the front of the shin be covered, just the knee joint. But you know, it only takes one grass cutter style return from a blow across the shins to make you a firm believer in greaves. At least it didn't take more than one for me. Covering the bony points on the side of your ankle, very good thing. Calf muscle may not break, but it can still hurt pretty well. And you're going to notice that I have an extension here that not only covers the top of your knee when you bend your leg, but it also covers that prime target zone right above the knee. Now, I do also make a full cuisse, 3/4 wraparound cuisse, one piece, that replaces this. So you can have essentially coverage from the ball of your hip all the way down to your ankle. But that's a separate piece that you have to order separate from the shovel greaves themselves. Shovel greave does come with this piece. It comes strapped. The only thing that you're going to have to do is to connect the demi-knee to the shovel greave, and I'm going to explain to you how to do that right now. So, to be able to wear these, you're going to need to have a knee pad. I have some knee pads right here. Now for mine, they got these nice Velcro straps, which makes it kind of easy to get them on and off. Okay, so we have that on. Then you're going to put on whatever type of boot or shoe that you wear while you're fighting. And you're going to take your shovel greave, which at this point, after it's been delivered, this is not going to be attached. You're going to need a drill with about a 1/8 size drill bit in it, large enough for the thongs here to go through. And you're going to need a Sharpie. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your foot up on a chair. So you got a nice 90-degree bend here to your knee. Then you're going to put on the shovel greave. Now all the straps are already on. The only thing you're going to have to do is punch some holes in those straps. Now as to what side these get worn on, doesn't matter. They're uniform in size and shape. I typically like to wear it with the buckles to the inside. Makes it easier for me to put it on and take it off. So you've got two here. One around the ankle, one just above the calf. Now your demi-knee is only going to come with one strap. This is an older strapping design that I have on mine, and I use two. But the ones that you get, strap is in a different location and there's only one. Okay, so, like I said though, your demi-knee is not going to be attached. But, put the shovel greave on. There's going to be, these thongs are tied into two holes on the demi-knee, but there's not going to be any holes on your shovel greave. So, put your knee pad on, strap the greave on, take your demi-knee and you're going to lay it on your thigh, and you're going to slide it forward until the rounded dished part that cups over the top of your knee butts up against the inside of the leather of the knee of the shovel greave. You're going to take your Sharpie and you're going to mark on either side here where the holes and the thongs are on your demi-knee. Okay? Now you're going to take this off and you're going to drill two holes on either side of the knee, one above the other. Okay? Now you're going to take your thong, you're going to untie it. I've got a single loop knot in it to hold it in place on the demi-knee. You're going to untie that knot though, but then you're going to give those thongs a twist before you put them through the holes on the shovel greave, and then you're going to tie them off here on the outside. Okay, you do that on either side there. Now, do not forget to put that twist in the thongs. The reason you're doing that is if you put them through straight like this, every time that you bend your leg, it's going to stress those straps until they wear and snap. But if you put a twist in it first, then it's going to act like a hinge point and it won't stress those thongs. Okay? So once you've got them there, you can now see there's no binding up, complete flexibility, stays in place. One of the great things about doing hardened leather like this is the weight compared to, say, a steel shovel greave. This entire thing here weighs maybe 2 pounds, maybe 2 1/4 total. I've had all sorts of people that talk about it's almost like they're not wearing anything when they run around with my shovel greaves on. I can't think of anything else to tell you about the function, protection value, but as you can see, as I mentioned, this extends far enough back that any blow coming across the back here is not going to be able to reach the tendons to the back of the knee. So that was one of the other safety things we needed to talk about. Maintenance. Just like all of my other hardened leather, the only maintenance that you're going to have to do to these is that every once in a while you're going to need to bake them in your oven. The instructions for that are on my website, skaldic.com, and I'm going to share them with you right now. Basically, you're going to preheat your oven at 200 degrees. You're going to take your shovel greaves. Now, there's no padding glued into these, so you don't need to worry about taking your padding out. Just take these, stick them in the oven, bake them for 15 minutes. Don't go over 20. If you go over 20, you risk warping them. But you go 15 minutes, take them out, let them cool, you're ready to go. If they seem a little tight when you first get them, you can also reshape them just a little bit by doing the same thing. Heat them up in the oven and shape them to fit you a little better. They're going to spread out some as you wear them. They're not going to be so rigid that they're not going to eventually spread out a little bit and be more comfortable. But if you do find that they're just binding or rubbing in the wrong place, try reshaping reshaping them that way first in the oven. And if you really need to, if for instance this cup here tends to be too much for you and it digs a little bit around the points on the side of your ankle, Tandy makes a tool that has a little curved end to it that a razor blade sits in. You can use that to shave around any part that you need to make it fit more comfortably. And then just take some 120 grit sandpaper, give it a rub to smooth it all down, and then bake it in the oven following my maintenance instructions, and that'll reseal the edge. And that's pretty much it. I hope I've been able to answer any of the questions you have about these. And if you have any other, please feel free to drop me a line.